With the events of Assassin's Creed 4 behind us, we, the hardcore assassins, are doing what we do best. We are theorizing, analyzing, speculating, and coming up with what's going to happen next in the franchise. Where are we going to go? What time is it going to be? Who's going to be there? What are we going to be looking for? Whose head are we going to bash in? All of that stuff is what we just thrive on. And we're going to look at all of what I think is going to happen in the next game and further on in the franchise throughout this video. This video is going to be a little bit long, and I'm sorry, but that's because there's so much shit to go over. We're going to be going over stuff from all of the major console releases. I have fact-checked everything, and I have been going over the wiki, the AC Initiates website, and footage from all of the video games. I have played every single video game more than once, and I'm pretty into this stuff, so I think I've got some good ideas. We're not going to talk about this really long email that was in Assassin's Creed 4. I'm only going to mention that Joan of Arc was brought up and her connection with Vidic, and the fact that they are not going to be visiting any time periods where motor vehicles are involved. So at some point during Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, you get these random dates spit at you by that female voice in the Black Room. And some of them don't really make apparent sense. Some of them do. I looked them all up in history's timeline in real life, and I've plotted them out here. Later time periods I condensed and put on the end because, again, they're not going to be going into those time periods with motor vehicles. So the first thing is in 30, Jesus is resurrected. Now, I don't think we're going to be visiting Jesus anytime soon, but I just wanted to point out that's what happened on that date. 476, Romulus is deposed by this other guy. This happened in Rome, and since we've been all over Rome, I don't think that's where we're going to be going either. The next one, 1337, the French and the English start the 100 Years' War. Guess who was there? Joan of Arc. And 1431, Joan of Arc dies. Now, the fact that these two dates are in this timeline that was spit out by the Animus lady, I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're important. 1520, Suleiman becomes Sultan. Well, been there. 1776, American Revolution. Done that. 1861 is the American Civil War. Now, this could be something that we dip into later. And I think if we do, it's going to have something to do with a descendant of either Aveline or Jennifer Scott. And like I said, the end time period, we're just not even going to talk about that because we're not going there as per the memos, for the Abstergo memos and Ubisoft. We're not going to be going there, not anytime soon, but I do have some ideas about that later in the video. So let's take a look at the assassins on a timeline. We've got 6 of them, and one of them's missing, and if you take that time period, 1337 through 1446, which I just did 99 years, the mystery assassin falls right in there next to Altair and Ezio. So on to who? Let's look at this timeline again. Well, I think our next assassin is definitely going to be a female. If you look at all 6 of them here, 4 of them have been guys, and I think it's due. Aveline, she counts, but she was a handheld iteration, and we're damn well due for it. And then you've got this to consider.
There is one who would accompany you through the gate. She lies not within our sight. The cross darkens the horizon. It is done. The way lies all before you. Only she remains to be found. Awaken the 6th. Go, alone!
Now, after seeing that scene and playing Assassin's Creed 4, you might be thinking, well, of course, it's Edward Kimway's daughter. But Jennifer Scott was born in 1713, so she doesn't really fit into our timeline. Plus, if you read her story, I just don't think that's where she's going to end up. And she had nothing to do with Joan of Arc. There's something else about Joan of Arc here that we should think about. She introduces to us gender roles and expression. And this is something that Ubisoft has been introducing to us, kind of trickling in with characters like Captain Kidd and Bonnie, and with Joan of Arc. She dressed as a guy. Okay, this is a big deal for her time period.
I have now resumed the practice of dressing as a man, and have put off my woman's dress.
Why did you take it? Who made you take it?
I took it of my own free will, with no constraint. I prefer a man's dress to a woman's.
You made an oath, Jade. You swore to never again dress as a man.
And I think the reason for that is because they need to worry about their sales numbers. And it's kind of funny, there's stuff in there, if you look at the Abstergo information, about their market research into female characters. It's all pretty interesting. There's some stuff involving Aveline's operator and how he feels at the moment while he's in one of his sessions with her.
If I had to guess what it meant, I would think she was thinking about sex. But I'm a guy, so I would think that, right? So what does it mean for women to act that way? It has to mean something else, right?
As a subject, you're able to observe more finely than I am in review. What about unwanted attention from men?
And that's why I think the character's going to be female. So who will the character be? Well, let's take a look at this.
In Eden, find Eve. The key, her DNA.
Tell me.
I cannot. The sun. Your son. Too weak. Must replenish energy.
Don't go!
I am with you till the end. Find me in the darkness.
Well, this is where it starts to get a little weird and a little freaky, and you have to pay attention or you might miss a thing or two. There's a couple of things. First off, there's the Subject Zero tapes and the surrogate program, but we're going to get into that later on more in depth. I just want to point out that this woman is using her son's DNA in the Animus, okay? And that does get Vidic's attention. I think this has a lot to do with Subject 15. Now, they've been tweeting about Subject 15, and these 3 emails are the only thing in existence that reference her. They are available on the AC Initiates website. Subject 15 was, of course, the subject before Clay, and she was incarcerated in the lab in December of 2010. She also died the same day that they spoke about her. The only thing they say about her is that she was pregnant, she wasn't feeling too good, and that she died, okay? And the only thing that we know is the date of the email. But we've also got the fact that she's pregnant and the fact that Clay just said something to Desmond about your son. Now, of course we're going to think Desmond had a son, but how the hell would that happen with Subject 15? Well, they might come and concoct a story. We don't know that much about Desmond's love life now, do we? Maybe they'll come up and say, this is the girl that Desmond was dating in 2010 when he worked at that bar that he worked at, and he knocked her up, and they didn't know it before they kidnapped her and threw her in there. Because we're looking for Eve. And since Desmond and Clay both have a DNA link with Adam, it only makes sense that one of the two of these guys is going to be the baby daddy, right? Now, Clay was in there in 2011, but he was at Abstergo in 2010, so that's why I'm not ruling him out as a suspect as the baby daddy, okay? So how is that going to relate to the story in Assassin's Creed 5? Well, I'm going to lay it all out for you, so try to stay with me. You as a player are going to play Subject 15, much in the same way as you played as Desmond in the present day. And in your Animus sessions, you are going to relive through Baby Assassin's eyes. And I think what's going to happen is while you're doing that, you're going to get connected to Eve, okay? How does that relate to the backstory? Well, if Subject 15 makes a baby with Desmond, then that makes Desmond connected to Eve, much in the same way as Adam is connected to Eve, if you know what I'm saying. That also makes me start thinking about this email. Maybe this email didn't come from Clay, right? Like when you were playing the first game, you thought it was probably him, since you're seeing all this crazy stuff from him. But what if it was from her? Another reason that we might think that Clay could be the baby daddy is that, quote, ultrasound video. Now, I've been pregnant twice, people, and I have never in my entire life seen an ultrasound that looks like this. I don't know what genius came up with that, but here's what it looks like slowed down. You've got this creepy face of it looks like a person with female features. You've got this weird Scared person. I've highlighted in green the stuff that you should see that you might not see, but do you see their eyes and nose? You'll have to pause to really get a good picture. On the next one, you've got what looks like, to me, and I don't want to be weird, but it looks like the Twin Towers. I'm sorry. If it's not that, then it looks like some kind of buildings. Not every glitch looks like buildings, just this one. Then at the bottom of the next screen, you've got what looks like a DNA sequence, followed up by what looks to me like a royal orb, an apple of Eden, and a hand with a ring on it. There's also this really freaky looking hand that looks like it's holding a cigarette, and you might say, nah, that's just a line, but look there, there's a shadow. That's definitely a hand holding something, and I would call it a cigarette. Now, that's definitely not an ultrasound, but I did want to throw it in there because that's what it was called, and it was linked to Subject 16. Now, if you really want to warp your brain, go back and think about that really strange conversation you had with the Animus voice or whoever that was speaking to you. What if that wasn't the Animus, and what if it wasn't Clay? What if it was Subject 15?
No, get it out. Get it. Kill me.
So where are we going to go? Well, there's been several maps go around, the world map and all that, but we're going to use this one because this one has 50 different points on it, and they all point to a piece of Eden. At some point we see that the Shroud is number 66, but we're not going to talk about that whole thing. We're going to stick to the 50 on this map. I think that those assassin logos might mean some kind of bureau, and right now I don't see us going to any of those places. But I do want to point out that one in Cameroon because I think that that might be the cradle of civilization. And when we start getting into where people actually originated, I think that we might travel there. Right now, I want to talk about these two places. The one on the left is pointing at a couple of pieces that are near the western seaboard of Europe, somewhere near England and France. And the one on the right, which points to the middle of Russia. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about Russia, but I am poo-pooing that right now, okay? They recently tweeted some coordinates, and that's compelling, yes, but those two coordinates point to Moscow, somewhere south of Moscow, and if you look up on the AC Initiates website, I'll link to this in the description, there is a mission there for Nikolai Orlov. I think that's all they're really trying to do is drive traffic to the AC Initiates website and nothing more with that tweet. May we go to Russia someday? Probably, because there's a lot of stuff in here about Russia when you go back through all of the lore and the older games and all that stuff. There's the thing with Tunguska, and Putin even makes a cameo appearance, but since nothing really significant happens in Russia on our timeline, I'm not going with Russia right now. Plus, Joan of Arc probably never stepped foot there. And I know you're probably thinking, why do you keep talking about Joan of Arc? But listen.
Forgive me for this, Miriam, but I must tell you something. The artifact, we have it. But only Oscar and I know its location.
Don't tell me.
They will release you. Your family has connections. You must take the artifact and bring it to the assassins in Paris.
Please don't. I don't want to know. It's safer if I don't.
Hush now. If I die, knowledge of its location dies with me. You must bring it to the assassins.
Assassins? I don't understand.
The spire of St. Petrus.
No, I don't want to hear.
Cell 7!
Now, they've definitely wanted to make sure we know that Joan of Arc had a sword of Eden, right? But listen to this.
I had the team do some research on this artifact we've been chasing, and it appears the Third Reich actually found something matching its description sometime in 1940.
Now, you might be thinking that the Nazis got a hold of this piece of Eden, and we know they had one, but you need to remember that Henry Ford actually gave the piece of Eden to Hitler, okay? It wasn't something that he found. It was given to him. So I think that we're still going to be looking in France for that Sword of Eden. So what's it all going to be about? I don't really know. They're really good at messing with your mind and making you scratch your head. But I want to go back to Joan of Arc for a second. Joan of Arc is in the 100 Years' War. She is a very pious woman. She is known to have held a piece of Eden. Now, her sword is a true story. She heard voices that told her to dress like a man and take up arms, and then she would find her sword right here. A sword that they definitely make sure that you know the Templars took. And the same picture that's depicted here was recently tweeted by the AC Initiates website as well. Now, since characters like this are usually accessory characters, I think that she's going to be more of a sidekick or a mentor. She won't be an enemy because the Templars took her sword. We still have that surrogate program thing. They made sure that we read about it and heard these audio tapes, right, regarding this surrogate program. Listen to this short clip.
Let's think this through. My subjects are diving into their own genetic memories, so the information is already encoded in their heads.
Which means the Animus has less work to do. Less computing, less parsing.
Right. So to get your surrogate data working, to let people experience foreign memories, it'll take a hell of a lot more processing power than anyone has. Even Abstergo Industries.
Ideally, we'd like to build an external processor that mirrors as many brain functions as possible. Something to handle the calculations.
Now, this is where I start thinking about the observatory. I couldn't figure out when I played the game how the hell that was going to connect to the bigger picture, but this is how I think it will. The observatory reads the genetic material contained in blood vials, right? So essentially that makes the observatory a really old Animus. And if you think about that in terms of genetic memory and the fact that they're looking at other people's stuff, so take that genetic memory thing and put it together with the surrogate program that Eileen Bach was researching. This was in the 80s, and Eileen Bach could hear but not see the memories that were encoded in her child's DNA. And we know that around the same time, this is when Vidic found out about her memories involving an artifact, and then he's finding out about Joan of Arc and her sword through the interrogation of her, they're talking about her sword through her interrogation. He's reliving that through one of his ancestors, all in the same time period, right? So we know that that was something that Abstergo was interested in. Well, then in 2010, Subject 15 hits the scene. So we know that they also had that to think about. But then in 2013, we, as the Abstergo employee, we discovered the observatory, which was also a priority for Abstergo. So if you take and combine these two things, you've got the surrogate program, you plug it in with the observatory tech, and what you get is the ability to experience memories that are outside of your DNA sequence, which means that the Templars can experience the Assassins' memories, and the Assassins can experience the Templars' memories. And that, my friends, is a whole new can of worms. Maybe we'll use their genetic memory to infiltrate their organization, or maybe the other way around. Maybe this time or sometime in the future, or even as an integrated part of the game, we're going to play as a Templar, because they certainly have been trying to warm us up to Abstergo.
Ahoy, players, friends, pirates.
So how does it all tie in with the people before and the origin story and all that? I don't really know. That's something that is kind of getting convoluted in the later stories, I must say. But, there are some things that are interconnected, and the last thing we did was unleash Juno onto the world.
Only touch the pedestal and the world will be saved. Better the world burn than she be loosed upon it. Is that so? It is done. The world is saved. You played your part well, Desmond. But now it's time that I played mine.
And if you read through her sticky notes, you're going to find out that she really hates people. And she hates their technology. What if someday she causes another catastrophe herself and ends up knocking out all of our technology, and we end up with this dystopian society, post-apocalyptic revolution TV show type thing where there's no electricity, no technology, and no motorized vehicles. This could be a way that they could intermingle the Assassin's story with modern times without having that constraint and having the technology to get in the way and really just mess the story up and make it like Watch Dogs. So that's something to think about for future games.
Do you hear me, Cypher? Can you see me?
The word cipher. So the first thing you think about when you look at the word cipher is decoding, right? You're like using a cipher to decode something, and that makes sense and fits Desmond's role and whoever's in that seat at the time talking to this person before, because they're decoding what's going on. They're figuring the story out. But cipher also used to mean zero, and people often use zero as a point of origin or the beginning of something. And that could fit in with the alpha and omega that you've been called on more than one occasion. And let's think about this scene.
Our words are not meant for you.
What are you talking about? There's no one else here.
Enough. I do not wish to speak with you, but through you. You are the prophet. You've played your part. You anchor him, but please be silent, that we may commune.
Damn, that moment, right? That was my number one moment. In 30 years of gaming, my number one moment. I don't think that's ever going to be topped. But it's followed by this.
Listen.
Now, I don't know about you, but I strongly felt she was looking at me. Not Desmond, me. Okay? And I kind of dismissed it when it happened the first time, but then it happens again.
I can feel you, Cypher. Feel. But hardly touch. Make me whole again, my children. My instruments. Bring me forth to fulfill your purpose.
Now, notice that she uses the verbiage children, and she speaks in a plural way, and the way that she's talking to you and looking directly at you, I know they intentionally do that. I know they intentionally want you to feel like she is talking to you as the player, you the human being, not Desmond, not person that works at Abstergo, but you. And I really think that we can look forward to them exploring that whole mindfuck. Okay, but here's something, and this might be really out there. But remember when she said awaken the 6th? How in the hell would Desmond or Ezio have any fucking clue what number of assassin we the player are sitting on the console and PC releases of this game?
What the fuck?
So Juno's been unleashed, and she's pretty fucking pissed off, and I think that's probably what we're going to immediately be dealing with. And you just know, being a woman scorned, that she's going to want some atonement for this incident. If you add pissed off lawnmower man people hating Juno with the surrogate program and the observatory and the fact that there are Easter eggs alluding to the fact that Abstergo has their hands in something like CTOS from Watch Dogs, right? There are tons of possibilities for the future. Do I think Ubisoft's going to make another pirate game for Assassin's Creed? No. I think they're going to parlay that into a new franchise. But immediately for 5, I think we're going to be in France. We're going to be in the 15th century during the 100 Years' War. Our assassin is definitely going to be a girl, and she's going to get to hang out with Joan of Arc as a mentor. We're going to be looking for that Sword of Eden, and we're going to be dodging old Juno. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took me an immense amount of time. I spent about a week doing this. I really love this stuff. If you want to leave some comments and start some conversation, I will eat it up. Let's talk about it. Hopefully I'm right. If I'm not, that's cool. There's unlimited possibilities out there. I hope I've at least planted some little seeds that you can take with you through your Assassin's journeys and think about later on. Maybe you can go back and replay those old games and say, oh God, I totally get it. Maybe not. Maybe you got some other ideas. Drop me some comments. I love to have these kind of conversations. Tweet me on Twitter, whatever. Please like and share the video. I'd love to get other people talking about this. I hope you enjoyed, and I will definitely be back later when there's some more shit to talk about.
Do you see what's going on?